My name is Mike Quattro and my cameraman is Brian Alerding, and we are interviewing William McMyler on the 4th of January 2005 at the RFA Media Center. Could you please state your name and rank?
My name is William M. McMyler, Senior. In the Marine Corps, my rank was Corporal.
Okay. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted. I wanted to go fight for my country and stop communism. At least that's what I was taught at the time.
So why the Marines?
Because I studied history, and I used to play high school sports, and I liked it. It's pretty tough. And when Vietnam came around, I graduated from high school on a Saturday. Monday, I was in Parris Island in training, and I wanted to be with the best, because through history, the Marine Corps never left their dead behind. So I know if I got killed, my body would be taken home to my parents.
So did you have any specialty training?
I was trained as a Marine Corps Rifleman. We were trained in how to shoot the rifle, how to throw the handguns, how to fight with any weapon we could find, including our bayonets and our helmets or our feet. We were taught a lot of different things in judo, so we could prepare to go in combat.
So when did you go over into Vietnam?
I don't know the exact day, but it was the end of November 1967.
Okay. Now it says here on the record that you were the only white in a black troop. How'd you feel about that?
It wasn't too bad. There was like 11 or 12 people, and I was like the 12th person. And I was pretty big. I weighed 220 pounds. So we had a sergeant, and one of the few sergeants we had, he called me up and said, "You are going to be my radio man." I said, "I don't know how to use a radio." "It doesn't matter. You got broad shoulders. You're going to run with me." And that's what I did for a while. As far as in Vietnam, there wasn't too many black guys, and there wasn't too many white guys or Indian guys or Hispanics. You all wore the Marine Corps green. You fought together as one unit, so there's no color. I just mentioned that because they did give me a hard time. One guy called me like snowflake. I said, okay, because I was so white, and I called them midnight. But it wasn't too bad. They were very good in combat. They did good. I had no problems.
So there were no real racial tensions? Or?
No, like we had to survive. In order for me to survive, I had to depend on my men, or they depend on me.
Right. So did you feel your training adequately prepared you for Vietnam?
No, I did not. Because we were trained to killers, okay? Which is, we're shooting people, but that's our job. That was what we're trained for. But I wasn't trained for, and even to this day, it bothers me, seeing all the dead Marines. I didn't prepare myself for that, because you can't. And a lot of my friends got killed, and we had to pick them up and drag them back to the helicopter. That's what I wasn't prepared for. As far as somebody shooting me or getting shot, that was okay, because we were trained for that. But seeing the fellow Marines dead with all sorts of different injuries they had, they're dead, legs, arms, heads, horrible. I dream about that daily. They give me pills to try to help me get through that.
Do you feel anything could have prepared you for that, or?
I don't think so. Because I am a Catholic. I went to a public high school. It was like playing on a football team. And then you don't get home and go on your bus. You pack up your dead and wounded and go to the next fight. So that was my problem. You see the dead, our own dead. After a while, you see the Vietnamese. You said, okay, I'm glad they're dead because I'm still alive. It was like that. It wasn't like you enjoyed what you're doing, but you had to really be good at what you're doing so you could live it to another day.
All right. So what was the fighting like?
I started writing something down in just put it aside. I arrived in Quang Tri, Providence, and I went with that squad I told you with. It was 1st Battalion, 3rd Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division, Alpha Squad, 2 Charlie, so that's pinpointed. They're still in action today, fighting over in Iraq or wherever they are now. And we did a lot of, you had to stay up all night. We did different jobs during the day. If we're in a secure area, we'd be building sandbags and work details, and then it lasted for a little bit. And it got so dark out there, you could put your fingertip right in front of your nose, you couldn't see it. I mean, and you see things and you hear things, but you really had to get real quiet and listen, because what they would do, like early in the morning, late hours, 4 or 5 o'clock, if they knew who we were, they'd sneak up on us. And some of my friends were killed, so I was always like ready to go, you know. And then we went out in the field. We did patrol in rice paddies. We did go into villages, and when I found out there was no males in the villages, maybe an older guy and all the women, so that told us that they were not our allies, they were against us. Then there was other times we went into the village. I don't know how many times we did this. It's called the free fire zone. If anything moved, male or not male, I mean human, animals, anything, you just shot it and you burn down the villages, because they're North Vietnamese sympathizers. We did that quite a bit, and what's really hard to describe is the Marines, I don't know what they do now, but back then, we just ran like a frontal assault. Like put my arms out like that, there might be a 100, 200 Marines and just go on front, just, you know, going towards the village. Then they open up on fire, then we just continue on, you know. We did a lot of village work. We searched the villages. They had chickens. I will say the Vietnamese houses, or hooch is what we used to call them, they had a little Buddha. Everyone had a shrine. I think some of them might have been Christian, but I can't remember. So they had a lot of faith in their spiritual stuff, so that was good. And a couple times we found guns underneath their beds or hidden. And if we found a gun, they were taken out and they were sent somewhere. I don't know what happened to them. And they were like the enemy because you don't have a gun in your house, you know. Right. And then we also worked on like a 20, 30 feet elephant grass, and I used to have a machete, and I chopped the grass, and I was out front walking by myself, and the guys were behind me, and that's all I did for a day or 2 days. I got tired of it. I bought a machete, so I took my machete and buried it, so I didn't have to cut the grass anymore. So I don't remember getting ambushed in the grass, the elephant grass. We did go up mountains, or what they call hills. I've been on 1 or 2, maybe 3 hills where we had to fight, and they told us we won the battle. But when you look down, you see your friends are hurt or dead. I don't know how you can win. But anyway, we got congratulated. We did real good in our job attacking people, that's what they told us. And we went through forest, and it was like, to me, it reminded me of hell, because the forest, it must have been bombs or rockets or whatever. They were chopped in half, like a bewitched wood, because that's what happens if the bomb destroys the landmark, and we did that. One day I remember, like March 7th, 1968, I was a radio man there, and we attacked this village, and they hit us. They had a lot of enemy, and I just lucky. I hit down by a rice paddy. I could hide this much, and we each took turns shooting a rifle. Everybody around me got killed. They all jumped up and shot a rifle. I mean, I got dead people all around me. And then I took up to take a shot, and they shot my rifle right out of my hand. I can still feel that today. What happened was I saw a Vietnamese soldier run. Instead of taking my rifle and shooting him, I moved my head over like this, and the bullet missed my face by that much. Blew my rifle right up in my hand.
Wow.
I was lucky there was a lot of dead people. As soon as I could, I got rid of the radio. And we did a lot of work. During the daytime we did patrols. Ambushes were at night. Working parties, if we're way back in the rear area, we'd work all day, but they make us go out on patrols at night. They used to tell me, 2-man patrols, you and so-and-so are going to go out a click, which is 1,000 meters. That's pretty far, so we'd go out and hide somewhere closer, so in case we got attacked, we wouldn't have been killed, you know. But what they did, and it's true to me with this day, I can't sleep. I mean, I worked as a policeman, I can't, they say, I'll go to sleep, I can't sleep. Irregular patterns, so I think I'm just making sure when I wake up 2 or 3, 4 times a night that everything's okay, even though I'm here, you know. Then, getting sidetracked, those 3 or 4 hills we took, we captured them. And they sent us back. Then a month later, he had to go up the same hills, capture them again, and he had to release them, go somewhere else. Every soldier or Marine that fought in Vietnam, at least when I was there, they fought for one thing: the group of guys they were with, because they depended upon them. And the Marines had 13-month rotation, so each could make it through. Somewhere along the summer of 1968, I got very sick. I lost like 40 pounds, 50 pounds, whatever. I was delirious, I don't remember. And the lieutenant thought I was goofing off, but I'd be screaming in the middle of the night. So finally, they took me to the hospital. And there was a place called Da Nang. It was a pretty big hospital. They had an airport there. So the fighter jets or the helicopters would be coming and going all night long, and they get hit by artillery and rockets. You hear a big whistle, and I was an ambulatory patient. In other words, I could move somewhat, so I had to sleep. You ever see a hospital bed? How big they put us? It's kind of silly, but they put us. You got to sleep underneath the hospital bed, and you hear the ground shake because they're getting artillery or rocketed. And I'm thinking, even I said, what good is that? The bed going to do to me, you know. Then I found out I had malaria, and then they shipped me to Guam, and I don't know how long I was there, but it was in my medical reports. And the doctor said, you go back, we'll probably ship you to Okinawa. I'm very happy. I had 1 Purple Heart. I'm going back to Okinawa. I get to Okinawa, they say, you're still a rifleman. You're going back to Vietnam. Do your job. So I went back. In November of 1968, we attacked one of those hills again. I think we had 39 men. They're all, you know. And one guy, a group of guys was up in front of me, and the squad leader, who was a corporal, said, get back, take up the back. I don't care about this random. It was a Mexican kid. I don't care about the Mexican. I care about you. If something happens, you come running up. So they overran us. We walked right into an ambush. It was horrible. And I run out. They're shooting at me. I couldn't even, I had no shots because I couldn't see anybody, you know. And I jumped up to shoot, and somebody threw a hand grenade at me, I believe. I got some shrapnel on this arm. Everybody was coming down the hill. Friend of mine, they're all right next to me. They all got shot bad. One broke his leg. Another guy was sitting like sitting. They shot half of his penis off. We're talking horrible, you know. And I'm trying to fix him, and everybody, the Vietnamese are yelling at us, and I'm trying to stay alive. So I got all these guys that are wounded or dead. Somehow they managed all around me. They came back down the hill, and then there was some more group way up there, and I think we made it for about a day and a half of that. And I was scared, real scared. But scared is good. It keeps you alert, you know. And a general come up to me the next day. He said, you did a good job. We carried 11 of our friends up that hill were dead. Plus, I think everybody got wounded, so it was a bad day, you know. And then, I often think, why couldn't I go to Japan? But I guess it wasn't in the cards. Then I came back, just before Christmas. I was young, and what I did, I know how the Marines are. I had a little mustache. It never grew too good, even today. I shaved the mustache off. I got my hair cut bald, and I put all my medals on, whatever they were at the time. And one of them was a Purple Heart with a star, which means 2 Purple Hearts. We're doing a very close inspection. He says to me, Corporal, you got wounded twice? Yes, sir. I said, I'm living, sir. I'm going to do the best I can. You're going home for Christmas. Thank you, sir. Sergeant next to me, drunk, I think. Hair, he was all messed up. Who knows what he saw. Sergeant, yeah. That's all I can remember is a mess, you know. And he said, you'll be spending Christmas in Okinawa. So I got to come home like Christmas Eve. So that's a big thing if you're, like you guys, if you're young and you're away from Christmas. I don't think it really matters if you're in combat. I think the thing is just that you're away from your loved ones. You know, but then I went to guard duty in Cuba. It was just like Vietnam, because we went out and guarded the lines. They had high bunkers and they used to not shoot at us, but back in 1969, they were capturing a lot of American airplanes and driving them to Cuba. And we see the ships fly over, you know, and or the airplane, and then we see, I can't remember, it's either green tracers or they used in Vietnam, and I think that Fidel Castro's guys had green tracers. I'm watching tracers going over my head, not close, but you know, pretty close to notice. I go, wow, they're shooting at people. They were shooting at the Cubans. They'd run over. It's a mile wide, like no man's land, and supposedly it was booby trapped with mines. And they'd run over, and then we call for help. The guy, the officer, would come out and pick up the Cubans, take them back. I guess to go to Cuba. I guess they went to Miami, you know. Then they offered me to retrain me because I was a rifleman, and they wanted to wind down the war. I said, no, I think I'm going to want to be a policeman. He said, why don't you stay in the Marine Corps? The gunnery sergeant friend of mine says, we'll take care of you. I said, no, sir, I'm not. So I get out of the Marine Corps, and I joined the police department in 1970. Then in 1975, I needed extra money, so I actually joined the Army Reserves, and I stayed there for almost 20 years. I didn't find out, 1969, when I got out of the Marine Corps. 30 years later, they told me I'm permanent and totally disabled. Because I have post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disease, and bipolar. I have I have sugar diabetes is a result of Agent Orange, which kills a lot of people. And what else? I got a lot of things wrong with me, and it's all been attributed to Vietnam. Had to retire from the police force when I was 51. I come up to Rome daycare for the veterans 4 days a week, and I go to church a lot. And I don't know if there's any other questions you want, but I joined the military, like I told you earlier. My grandfather came over to this country in 1914. 1915, he was fighting in France, and he was older, so I didn't really question him about what he did there, or nor did they talk. My father got out of high school in 1941. That's when December 7th happened. We got bombed in Pearl Harbor, and he joined. I don't know if he got drafted or what. My father never talked about the war. I talk about it because when I talk about it, it makes me feel good. Maybe some people don't understand it. But the best thing that I learned from the Marine Corps, if you take your time, if you have time, research your problem, you can overcome any obstacle, anything that might happen to you in life. It teaches you to be very disciplined. You know, when I was a policeman, I had a lot of problems sometimes, and I just had to stand up and be counted and do my job, and I never got hurt in the police department. So I'm actually retired from the Army Reserve, disabled from the Marine Corps. If there's any other questions you can think, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I've got a few. What was the most frustrating thing about the war for you?
We went over to win. My units, I don't care if we all get killed. Let's go over and do our job. Let's get all the Marines and all the Army guys and do the job, you know. We couldn't do that, you know. We were going down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they had trees just double the size around. We used to blow the trees down. They make it have, it's like a cover all the trees, so the airplanes can't see them. So they cut all the trees down, and the bombers came in and bombed the trail. Lost our friends. Let's see, what did I do? I got married. That worked up good till this year. I had 4 children. I worked as a policeman almost 30 years, was what I wanted to do. And every time I hit, like, oh, I have a son, I had 1 son, or 3 daughters, or whatever, I always think back to my friends in the Vietnam Memorial. They never were able to achieve that. So that brings great sorrow to my heart. That, you know, my friend, it could have been me. When I first had problems, they gave me these pills, I just stayed in bed, and I thought, I can't deal with this. And then I gained the weight because of the pills, some of it. And then eventually I realized, oh, you better deal with it, you gotta get on with your life. So that's why I didn't write things down, I really talk to you, because if I write things down, because I already know it's like a record player, round and round and round. When I talked to one of the psychiatrists, I told her my brain there, the back part, it's like a pinball machine. It just goes around. My friends come out into the faces. I'll see them. I feel very, very bad for them. Mm-hmm. I did see the Marine Corps. No, I did the Marine Corps Marathon, and I saw the Iwo Jima Memorial. I think it was 48. I ran up that hill, and I was limping a little bit. That's okay, because I take pain and use it as my friend. 26.2 miles. I got very tired because I had to run up 0.2 of a mile, and that killed me because I was so tired. But I ran up there, and they had a lieutenant from Quantico, gave me my ribbon, and he took off my chip, which would tell my time. You know, computer. I took me 4.5 hours. But I enjoyed that. I mean, I see Marines running, and it was good. And, these Purple Heart medals mean the most to me because everybody says, well, you're stupid because you got shot, you weren't good enough. I said, no. I was running up to help people who needed me, and then I got wounded then. You know, I wasn't hiding. I just ran up, got wounded, and helped my friends, whether they're whatever uniform they are. But when I did come back to the United States, there was that little racial thing going on. In Vietnam, in combat, you can't fight with your friends. Because you guys unite together.
Right, and you mentioned a lot of different terrains in Vietnam. How do they affect the fighting?
Okay. We didn't know it at the time, but they had a lot of tunnels. And they could sometimes go underground. I don't know how big the tunnels are where we were, but we did find a North Vietnamese underground hospital. They killed everybody in the hospital. Cut a nurse, a couple nurses and doctors, and they shot them all, you know. And they'd hide somehow they get in a little thing like this. They're small, 100 pounds, covered up, and then each soldier, if he was there, he'd mark a tree, and they have overlapping fire. So if you walked into the kill zone, they usually shot you from here up. And you never saw them. You don't see, you see some of them, but most of them you never see. Like in the hospital, like I told you, that bombing in the hospital never hit us, thank God. That was very scary. I started having nightmares when they took me out of combat. I was in the hospital. You know, every once in a while, I said, oh, I gotta go back to Vietnam. And I left there when I was 20, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Very, very good people. The Marine Corps, like if we ate lunch out in the field, we'd have to bury it in a big deep hole to get rid of the cans. They take cans, anything plastic, or metal, they make a booby trap or a mortar round. They're very, very smart people. They live off the land. The mountains, you should go right up them. I mean, and they're up there, and real hard job getting the mountains. The villages, that was bad because we always had to run like 500 yards or 1,000 yards in the villages. We're taking enemies' fire, and everybody around you keeps running in. And a friend of mine was, he wouldn't want to fight anymore. He laid down and started crying. I said, that's nice. And I didn't. I'm running. I got nowhere to go. I'm in Vietnam. I have nowhere to go. I don't know who to call for help. I can't call my parents for a ride home. You got to do what you got to do. And this kid laid down. A little sergeant picked him up, cocked his 45. You're going to die for the Corps, or you're going to die by my 45. All I did look back, and I ran faster. I think what they did, they were throwing mortars at us, and they're like, we had to outrun them. If you stood behind, you'd get hit with them. Right. So I don't know. I mean, I did what I had to do because I had to do it. That's how you get home, you know, do your time. And having my friends lost, like, I had twin brothers. They were next to me. They were in the same platoon, or same squad, I mean. And one kid was always just sticking his head up, looking around. And we told him someday that's going to get him in trouble. So we got hit. We all got right into a machine gun problem. And I just laid there. His brothers got hit all the way around. I'm looking down. And I go, I'm looking up. I'm looking down. He goes, yeah. Go tell my brother I'm okay. I go, okay. I reach over to tell his brother. He put his head up. He cut around through here. Took the back of his head off. I turned around and I said, yeah, your brother's okay. What could I tell him? You know, we couldn't get help because everybody's bleeding. You don't get help in real combat. Like they show them running up and take care of you. They give you one corpsman, and a lot of the corpsmen there, they get injured themselves. So they go above and beyond the call of duty. So see, I can put faces to my friends, but as the years go by, you forget their names, but the faces are still here. They never go away, you know. That was the only war I could fight in at the time, so that's what I wanted to do. I figured that would give me, I wasn't going to be a career Marine, but I saw things that I didn't like in the Marine Corps, so I went in and did my job and left. Which a lot of guys do, you know. Now in your generation, people have to enlist. In my generation, if you didn't enlist, you might have got drafted. So it was a different, but I still want to go to the Marine Corps anyway. You know, just something to do at the time. I'd do it over again, because you can't change history. So, I still don't like dead bodies, even when I was a policeman. It's just, what can you do? You deal with what you got.
So did you go and see the wall?
Oh, I'm sorry. I get part of my problems was I got psychological problems. I drift on and off. Okay. I told you I ran the Marine Corps Marathon.
Yeah.
The night before, we took out, some lady told us where the mall was. We took a subway ride, and I went to the mall, or the wall, and I walk up, I'm looking at the names. I walk up. I felt like I was in heaven. I felt like I was home. I felt very bad, because these are my friends, you know, and very sad. But I made it. I said, gentlemen, I will run in your honor tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or whatever, and that's what I did. I felt energized because I saw the wall, but I also felt real bad because they weren't. I didn't cry. My wife's crying. She hugged me back crying. I feel this is where I belong up there. You know what I'm saying? I should someday maybe I'll go up there. A lot of people who got injured in Vietnam did die 30, 40 years later, and if they die because of an injury in a war, they could go on the Vietnam War. I've been to it once. I didn't do a scraping. And a lot of people scrape their friends' names. Yeah. And it's very easy to do if you can remember their name. What they do, I believe, it's the date of death. So everybody, they started, I think they had advisors over there, like before they had the Marines and Army guys. So I don't know how long the advisors were over there before they trained the South Vietnamese troops to fight, which they did, as history says, they're not too good fighters, because once we left, the North Vietnamese came right into town and ran it over. I'd go back again, years ago.
So are you still in contact with any of the men you fought with?
That's a sad thing. I went to Vietnam by myself as a replacement. I came home 13 months later as a replacement again. So when they first started the war, I think they sent the Airborne and the Marines, they all went together. Like the armies are doing now, they're sending them all together. I did meet like, God, 25, 30 years ago. I did meet one friend of mine, he lived in Whitesboro, and I was a Whitesboro cop. He got wounded, we think we shot him, but he got wounded, and when he was in a naval hospital, he met a nurse, and he lives in New York City with his wife now. I've seen two people that went through Parris Island, and they loved me, because I was 6'1", 245 pounds. And I was in good shape, but the drill instructors didn't like it. They wanted me to maybe run. So I had to run all the time. So I ended up Parris Island about 195. And they were so small, they never had any problems, because I was always, they used me as an example. You know, take the biggest and knock him down. You're not going to have trouble for the rest of the 75 people. So I've seen one veteran in Vietnam, two people I graduated from the boot camp with in Parris Island. That's about it, you know.
So how were you treated when you got home?
I came home December 1968. I wore my uniform home. And my parents picked me up, I don't know, I think we might have gone to Knighton County at the time, or Syracuse, I can't remember. It was 25 below degrees, okay? I came from Vietnam, it was about 70 above. So I came home, I stayed in the house a couple of times, you know, a couple of days, then when I was drinking like we used to do. And, then I went back to Parris Island, no, I went back to North Carolina, then finish up my time. And but in the early 70s, they had people like the moratorium, or they're against. See, what I got upset was Vietnam is the only war that I know where they treated the warriors bad. Usually, like now they learn that they should treat the Secretary of Defense and the President and the politicians, those people who went to war then and now, they were just doing their job. But in my time, it was like, oh, you're a Vietnam veteran, you're a crazy man. And every time everybody got arrested, it's, oh, Vietnam veteran got arrested. Now they're doing Timothy McVeigh. He blew up to Oklahoma. And he was Oklahoma Federal Center. And he was a hero from the Gulf War I. He's executed and gone. So he had something on his mind. But what it was, I just didn't talk to people, you know. I didn't talk to them about Vietnam. Nobody wanted to hear it. Then maybe, I don't know, maybe when Desert Storm first started, or a little bit before it, they started to realize it's okay to be a Vietnam veteran. People did support you, but the only people at that time were the ones making the noise against the Vietnam War. The silent majority just stays silent and doesn't get active. So a lot of people, I guess, were in favor of the soldiers, you know. And so I can't remember how long ago it was, 10, 11, 12 years ago, maybe longer. It was kind of neat if you're a Vietnam veteran. Everybody says, welcome home, brother. Yeah, welcome home to you too, you know. And it felt okay. But it was like 30 years too late, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So how did you think the U.S. government managed the war?
You got to understand, I was a pretty low rank. Not too good, because what happens, these people are immigrants, or not immigrants, what do they call them? Insurgents, yeah. That's what it says in my Purple Heart. Insurgents of South Vietnam and North Vietnamese Army. That's why they wounded me, so they put on my Purple Heart thing. And number one, they should have kept the bombing up. Should have never stopped the bombing. Every time they stopped the bombing, I could see North Vietnamese soldiers right on my TV. They're on a couple times a week. It's either the History Channel or Discovered, and I see them. They're hard little working guys, you know. They had to fight that war right to the end. They dropped Christmas Eve. They stopped October '68, Halloween. I think they stopped the bombing for how many days, I don't know. We're leaving one area where we patrolled. We're hopping on helicopters. We're hearing the guns going off. They're shooting rockets at us. Boom! Now, you know, so we had to get the choppers in and out. And then he took us to a different area. The Marines only get on a helicopter to go to, either you're going to take it back after a big mission, or they're going to take it right on another mission. I don't think we got support from the troops. Historically speaking, what I'm about to say is a fact. The M16A1 rifle, which I got, I was pretty big at the time. I carried 400 rounds, 20 clips, 3 canteens, 3 or 4 hand grenades. I care whatever I had to do. And but the rifles were breaking down. And if you load it up with 20 bullets, and then you fire, it had automatic and semi, okay? You fired 20 rounds, it would jam. That means there'd be 2 bullets going in one space, which can't work, okay? So you'd have to take it out, guys are breaking their guns apart, North Vietnamese coming up upon them and shooting them. They never fixed that rifle. The one, I told you I got my rifle shot in my hand. Right. I got an M14 rifle, which is a lot heavier. It's a bigger bullet. I dropped that in the water, picked it up, it fires. And I've talked to other people, since M16 they got rid of it. I think they were using something like a Mark IV now, which is a little shorter version, same bullet, and it fires like 3 shots, all you can fire at a time. Which is better, because you should aim what you're shooting at, you know, instead of just, something bad happens, you just empty your gun, hit, and do what you gotta do. But I think 3 shots, you shoot, aim, and go, and keep on going. So I think they got good weapons now. We didn't have good clothing. when I come back from Vietnam come back from Okinawa back to Vietnam, the guy gave me a M16. I said, what about my M14? We don't have them. I said, I had one when I went. It was gone now. Gave me a rusty, bloody gun. Gave me shorts. Little blood all over it. I said, you gotta be kidding me. We were told that the Army got better equipment than we had. Imagine putting on a pair of shoes, or not shoes, but clothes. Take a pair over there, and they're blood. I didn't like that at all, but there's nothing I could do about it. I think we could have been supported more if we kept on the bombing, because every time they bombed, we got bombed, they bombed us, or we bombed them. The people from 8 to 90 were bringing weapons, munitions, supplies down the trails. I saw it on TV once. They said they laughed at us. That means they can work harder, twice as hard, and not worry about getting bombed. I don't know. I think they should. We should have got out of the war real quick, or we should have just won. And it was a winnable war. It was just too bad. It ruined a lot of people's lives, the whole war. There was a book out in 1966, West Point graduate. Well, I don't think 2 million of them made it back. And a lieutenant, you're gone, you're the leader of the men. But took a good generation away.
Well, I have one more question.
Okay.
A lot of people are referring to this new war in Iraq as another Vietnam. What do you think?
Okay. I've had time to think about that. And I think that originally they went in, they sent the inspectors to find weapons of mass destruction. And they were there like 2 or 3 years. I can't remember how, but quite a while. And I don't think they found any, at least to my knowledge. And so, if that's why he went to war, I don't think that's a good reason. Now, if you 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, they said, Iraq, our 51st state, when it became the first war there. Honestly, don't know why we're there, but I do know what it's like. You had people killed, and they show them on TV every day, and Mr. Bush there was in the National Guard. And a lot of people got in the National Guard in the 60s or 70s, so they wouldn't have to go to Vietnam. That's a fact. Well, he was one of them, I can't say. I don't know. We lose so many boys and girls in war. They're always fought like guys a little older than you. You know, older people are too smart. They get these kids, they train them, and they think they're Supermen, but they're not Supermen. They're using the same bullets, AK-47, rocket propelled grenade that they used in Vietnam and the other places in the Mideast. So their terrorists have real good equipment, been proved in the last 50 years. The Humvee's no good. They kill horrible, killing people. I have one son. He's 22. He has no interest in going in the military because what I told him happened to me. I said, what I'm telling you is the truth, and you're my only son, and I can stop you from going in. Little did I know that I was my father's only son. And I could have got stopped from going into war. But guess what? I went anyway. My father didn't tell me what to do. I was an adult, young adult. I signed up and went. I don't know. It's a different generation. Your generation, or the generations in Iraq, and hopefully not too many people will get killed. They're going to be mentally screwed up too, because I talked to the psychiatrists, and nobody comes out for war good, unless you're lucky, you know. do hard combat, you're always going to have problems. You learn to live with them the best way you can. And be proud that you served your country, no matter what time it was.
So is there anything else you'd like to say?
I said I'm glad I served my country, and I did the best I could, and I never took part, nor did my Marines take part in any of those atrocities, as they say, happen. I have seen Vietnamese commit atrocities on the Americans, and they didn't do very nice things. And that's about all I have to say. If you ever need me to talk to me or change things in the tape here, or I'll be happy to talk to you again. Whatever you need, Wish you guys the best of luck in whatever career you're going to go into.
Thank you. All right. That's about it then.
Yeah. Oh, this thing here, I got my medals on it. I don't know if you do a report on this or no. You had to write something out. Okay, I gave you one of these, didn't I?
No.
I gave the teacher one. Oh, maybe this is one. Okay, last year a kid wrote a report. He was Hector, big tall kid, Hector. You didn't know him?
No.
Maybe he's from South America somewhere. Oh, okay, no, the big school. But he did a report on a gentleman, and he typed it up like you do, whatever. And he did a report on a guy, went to Vietnam. He only been twice, and what he did, he drove trucks. Had a wonderful time. Became a good mechanic. No combat disorders like I have. Permanent, totally disabled. And they had his war record, Mm-hmm. I don't know if they would help. He had the paperwork and this. If you want this, you can have it. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. So I had I did serve in combat. Oh, this is presented to the governor. This is a Conspicuous Cross of Gallantry, the highest state medal you can get. Yeah, I think I got these for being wounded twice. Or you had to have like a Bronze Star. Mm-hmm. I'm not that crazy to get a Bronze Star. Lucky I lived, but they're giving these, most of the guys get them when they're old or dead, because they don't tell you what to do a lot. Whatever. How many other guys are doing this? A couple?
Quite a few.
Oh, quite a few? We got one guy coming in, he's only 90, but he was in like 3 wars. I'd like to hear about him, he did everything.
Okay.
So like I said, if you ever need me, or I don't know what you need me for, but if you ever do, I'll talk to you again.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure. This is your time, it's not mine, is it? Ron's hospital? No. Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay.